So in our first step in the percent composition lab, what we're going to do is we're going to take our crucible together with the crucible cover, and we're going to have to wash this thoroughly in the sink. We're going to rinse it out with some deionized water. We're going to dry it with a paper towel, and then we're going to dry it completely by placing it over a Bunsen burner. Okay, so now we have our washed crucible together with the cover. We've placed it onto a ring, on a ring stand, and it's supported by a clay triangle in the middle of that ring. And we've placed the crucible and the cover specifically in such a way that it's slightly ajar, because what we're going to do is we're going to heat this crucible over a hot flame, because we want to make sure that it is dried completely. We need to provide some space for that water to escape in the form of water vapor. So we're going to light our Bunsen burner, and we have it already set for a really hot or intense flame. We are going to heat it over that really hot or intense flame for about 5 minutes to make sure that it is dried completely. As we are heating the crucible over that really hot flame, you'll notice at the bottom of the crucible turns a dull red color. After heating for 5 minutes, we're going to turn off the heat, allow the crucible and cover to cool down completely before we measure the mass of both of those. So after allowing the crucible and cover to cool completely, we're then going to get the mass of the completely cooled and dried crucible. So we've zeroed or tiered our balance, and then we're going to take our crucible that's completely cooled and we'll place it on the balance to record its mass, and we'll see that it's 27.47 grams. So to our weighed empty crucible, we're going to add in between 3 and 4 grams of our unknown, and the unknown we're using today is A. We're going to add in between 3 and 4 grams of our sample. Okay, so we've added enough of our unknown A into our crucible, and our final mass now is 30.72 grams. So again, just to recap, the mass of the crucible and the hydrate together is 30.72 grams, and the mass of the empty crucible was 27.47 grams. So now in our crucible we have our mass of the unknown A, and we've placed the crucible cover just like we did before to be slightly ajar. And what we're going to do is we're going to heat this over over a moderate flame, not too intense because we don't want any of the solid to come spattering out. We're going to heat it moderately for a couple minutes, and then more strongly for a few more minutes after that. So this is our initial heating of our sample. We've made the tip of our inner blue cone a lot lower so it doesn't produce an intense heating. We're going to heat it moderately for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to change the flame to be a little bit bigger, so it's heated strongly for a few more minutes. So after about 5 minutes of moderate heating, we've turned the flame up to have a really intense flame, and we're going to heat it intensely now for a further 7 minutes. Okay, so we've heated it strongly for about 7 minutes. We've turned the Bunsen burner off. We're going to allow this entire thing to cool completely for at least 8 minutes, and then we're going to get the mass of the crucible with the substance inside of it. So after the first heating of the hydrate and allowing it to cool completely, we're now going to get the mass of the crucible with the contents, which should be the anhydrous salt, and we see that it's 29.13 grams. So what we're going to do next is we're going to repeat the heating process. We're going to place it back onto the Bunsen burner, heat it moderately for a couple minutes, then strongly for a few more minutes. And our goal is to get to a relatively constant mass, meaning that it doesn't change from one heating to the next. So this is our second round of heating of our sample. We're going to heat it moderately for a couple of minutes and then strongly again for a few more minutes. So after our second round of heating of the crucible, we allowed it to cool completely, and then we're going to get the mass of the crucible and its contents, hopefully the anhydrous salt. And what we see is that the mass is actually the same as it was after the first heating. So right now it says 29.13 grams, and that was the same mass after the first heating. So the mass after the first heating was 29.13. The mass after the second heating is also 29.13 grams. So that means we don't need to do an additional third heating. We can stop here with our data collection.